All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Hopkins Select Board is being held both in person and remotely using the video conference platform Zoom. All members participating in the meeting are present in the meeting room or will be. The public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted in this meeting's agenda. This meeting is being recorded. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. All right. So we will start with public forum. Each person will have up to 2 minutes to speak at public forum. Please start by stating your name and address. If there's anyone that would like to start. And remember, as we've been doing that, whoever wants to start can come up, but we will be capping that at 6:20 tonight to move on to our other agenda items and then pick up public forum at the end if there's additional people that would like to speak. So who would like to start with public forum?
One hand raised on Zoom.
Someone's on Zoom with their hand raised. Can you hear us?
Dave Cormier.
Okay. Dave Cormier? Do you have your hand raised for?
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi, my name's Dave Cormier, 66 Pine Island Road. I've lived on Pine Island Road for 28 years. I've done extensive research on the history of Lake Maspinock, which you can find on maspinock.com. I'm zooming in tonight to speak on the possibility of Pine Island Road being removed from the plowing list by the DPW. Some facts that may not be known. Pine Island Road is an ancient way that's been used by Hopkinton citizens to access the southeastern shoreline of Lake Maspinock since before 1830. There are 20 private residential parcels on the road that contribute over $200,000 in property taxes annually to Hopkinton. These parcels became disconnected from Hopkinton proper and Middlesex County by the discontinuation of Old Town Road by town meeting vote in 1999 in order to facilitate the sale of the Minini property to EMC. This landlocked the entire neighborhood and gave only access through Milford. We have no access to town water or town sewer. We only have trash and plowing services here. Most people don't even know we're part of Hopkinton. The town has always acknowledged the geographic reality of Pine Island Road being landlocked and has plowed and repaired the road to the town line since before the first full-time residents in 1975. One of those realities is the neighborhood children walk a half mile into Milford in order to catch the Hopkinton school bus. If the plowing stops, that walk becomes an unacceptable hazard for those students and a direct liability for the town. I asked the Select Board to consider the unique location and historical record of maintenance of Pine Island Road and ask that you direct the DPW to please keep Pine Island Road on the plowing list for the safety of our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Who would like to come up next? Welcome.
Thank you. Karen Crum, 12 Joseph Road. I probably have a few questions. I know you can't answer them. Totally appreciate that. After last meeting that I listened to multiple times, I watched it live, and it was actually, there was so much information coming out that it was overwhelming. I almost had to turn it off. I went back and listened to it again and again, and I also requested the materials that the board received that night, and I did go through them, and I do understand what was being said, and there was a lot surrounding it, but I do understand that when we were talking about the former Hillers and the Vic license, that in December of 2024, they weren't discussed as being late. They weren't discussed as having contingencies. They just weren't on the list. But at the next meeting, Angel's Hilltop Cafe came up as a separate item, and Ms. Lazarus said It's a separate item on the agenda from the other renewals because it came in after your last meeting. But then on the 21st, Hiller's was put in the consent agenda. Not consistent. It just calls things into questions. I could see why there are so many questions, why things are inconsistent. I get it. I don't think they should be. I think there should be some consistency. The other thing I just want to talk about, and this is more of my questions, is it seemed like there was a lot that the select board needed to call on town council for. I would imagine that Mrs. Lazarus did as well. Don't you share the same town council? Like, who's the town council for both you and the things that were being brought up regarding the town manager? In the paper this past week in the Independent, I appreciate that it was answered, the questions were answered, but everything was turned on the board. It was the board. And I would just like to say that we pay our town manager. We expect leadership. Please do not blame the board for things. This should have been the time to step up and actually say, maybe we should run a query. Thank you.
Thank you. Would like to speak next? Anyone else on Zoom?
No other hands raised on Zoom.
Welcome.
Forgive me, I'm sorry, I'm very nervous.
It's okay.
Give me a second. I've never done this before. It's a sensitive topic for me. Good evening. My name is Lynn Key, and I'm currently a resident of Millville, but my family is from Ashland. My father, Bill Key, is retired now, but he was the fire chief in Ashland for almost 20 years and a sergeant major in the Massachusetts National Guard who served 4 tours of duty for this country. My sister, Amanda Key, worked at Bill's Pizza, now Beaumain, for years in her late teens and early 20s, and our family has gone to church here in Hopkinton since I was 12 years old. For reference, I just turned 40 at Christmas. I appreciate you letting me speak today and promise that you'll understand my attention to detail in identifying both myself and my family by the time I'm finished with my comments, and I'll do my best to keep it to 2 minutes. I have a friend here who can finish for me if that is preferable if I go over. On the Thursday before Easter of 2022, I decided to attend Maundy Thursday service at my church in person for the first time since COVID. I was excited, as it's both mine and my late grandmother's, my ninny's, favorite service of the year, and filed into a seat at the back left corner of the church just as worship was kicking off. As I took in the scene around me, I scanned the stage, its backdrop, and the people playing in the band and froze. Because the man playing guitar, Jeffrey Belmore, shouldn't have been there. You see, Jeff had been a part-time firefighter and full-time dispatcher on my father's department when I was a teenager. He was my guitar teacher, and over a period of about 1.5 years, when I was 14 and 15 years old, he was also my abuser. In 2002, he was charged with 4 counts of rape of a child for that abuse, for which he was convicted after 2 trials in 2006. He was sentenced to 3 to 4 years in prison, followed by 5 years of probation, and was classified as a level 2 sex offender upon his release in 2009. I was told that there was a lifetime stay-away order. I was safe. Knowing all of this, I chose not to run from the church I'd called home since I was young, that had buried both my ninny and my uncle TJ, and that served as my spiritual epicenter and place of power. If someone was going to leave, it would have to be him. But I wasn't about to interrupt church and make a scene to have him removed. Instead, I decided that I would simply go with the flow of the service, knowing that if he saw me, he would have to leave on his own accord or face the legal consequences later. It was that simple, or so I thought at the time. During communion, we filed out of our seats as a congregation to make our way to the front to receive the Eucharist. Jeff and his 2 young children were seated 2 or 3 rows ahead of me, and at one point, we were less than 3 feet from each other for several minutes as we waited. He never once skipped a beat, never mind left. Needless to say, I was a bit rattled after that. and I promise I'll get to the end. I can have her finish if you'd like.
We're already like over 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
Don't mind.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Heather Stanek. I'm going to finish reading this as if I'm Lynn. The next day, I called Hopkinton PD to report what had happened. He had violated the restraining order, and I assured that either the church didn't know his history and status as a sex offender, or there was some very good explanation as to why he was allowed to play in the church band, where he was exposed to his target population regularly. Knowing that he was also supposed to register all of his jobs and volunteer positions with SORB, my guess was it was the latter. And in some ways, that was fine with me as long as they were being safe about it. He had served his time and was there with his kids. Who was I to judge at the end of the day? It had been almost 20 years. I spoke with an officer who took my report and said he'd investigate everything and get back to me. Knowing how these things work, as my sister was also a survivor of both rape and a later sexual assault and the criminal proceedings that come along with that, I put the whole thing on the back burner and got busy waiting. 4 months later, when I still hadn't heard anything back, I decided it was time to follow up and see where we were at. I called the Hopkinton PD and spoke with someone who told me that the officer who had taken my report had left the department and that he had never followed up on it. I was shocked. Here he was, a convicted rapist and a level 2 sex offender working and/or volunteering at a church in the praise band. One who was brazen and unrepentant enough to stand 3 feet from his victim for several minutes and a lifetime stay-away order, and no one had done anything to follow up with the church to find out what was going on. It was insane to me, considering the risk involved, and it took me a little bit to center myself and decide what to do next. I thought back to my sister's second sexual assault, which had happened here at Bill's Pizza in 2012, and decided that my best bet was to reach out to Detective Sergeant Tim Brennan. I had been my sister's fresh complaint witness at that case, and having seen her interaction with law enforcement over the years go south on so many occasions, Tim stood out as the only SA officer to ever make it through an interview with Amanda without triggering her. This started what ended up being a 9-month process of investigation, culminating in a failure to register charge being brought against Mr. Belmore by Detective Van Ralton, as Detective Sergeant Brennan had been suspended the day before. I'm out of time, so I'll end with this now. For now, the HPD's failure to follow up on my call for 4 months and the internal pressures that made the investigation stretch out 9 additional months before charges were levied, coupled with Detective Sergeant Brennan's suspension, was not only jarring, it was re-traumatizing. And it came just 6 months after my sister passed away from the end result of her trauma. There is more to my story and my family's, and I will be back to tell it. But for now, I would just consider that you ask yourselves what anyone could have done to fix it had another child been abused at that church while they were unaware they had a child sex offender in their inner circles, to the level that they filmed a Christmas special at his home with several children participating. Considering what happened recently at Hiller's Pizza, where another level 2 sex offender was allowed to run a business while the public was left unaware, resulting in the sexual assault of a teenager on camera. Given the recent history with your own police department, where Jay Porter, the former school resource officer, who was recently sentenced to 7 years for rape he committed of a student in the course of his duties, the same officer, former Detective Sergeant Brennan, was suspended and later fired for bringing to the state police. Thank you.
Thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
Who else would like to speak tonight? Anyone on Zoom, Amy?
No hands raised.
Okay. With that, we will move on. Next, we have public forum statement. Select Board will share information and responses related to previous meetings. And so this one, we had some responses to comments that were made at our meeting on January 6th. So we kind of broke this out with the comments, and then, we had council and take a look and provide responses. So to start, some of the comments were around Hiller's Pizza submitted an application on 12/13/24 after the deadline. It was not reviewed by the board until January 25th, 2025. The town manager placed the application on the January 25th agenda swiftly and stealthily. And the town manager allowed a business to operate without a license while the application was pending. For a response, we wanted to clarify the deadline for renewal applications in 2024 was 11/30/24. Hiller's application was indeed late. However, late applications are accepted. We do not reject late applications and then order a business to cease operating altogether merely because the application is late. It is true that the application was not reviewed by the board until January 25th, 2025. This is because it was received too late to be included on the agenda for the last select board meeting in December, which was the 17th. It was not included on the agenda for the first meeting in January because the inspections had not been completed yet. The renewal was included on the January 25th agenda when it was ready for a board review. Regardless of whether an item appears on the consent agenda or is a separate agenda item, the opportunity for review and discussion by the board is the same. Board members may pull out items on the consent agenda for a separate vote and does so from time to time. The renewal application was not placed on the agenda swiftly. It was more than a month after it was submitted or stealthily. It was on the posted agenda in compliance with the open meeting law. The Select Board Chair reviews and approves every meeting agenda. The Select Board, as the licensing authority, has not directed town staff to shut down a business if a license application is pending before the board, but hasn't been approved. The town manager did not shut down the business because she had not been directed to do so by the board. There was additional comments around alcohol licenses require a review of those who have financial interest in the business, and this did not happen for Hiller's Pizza. Hiller's Pizza did not have an alcohol license. In response, Hiller's Pizza should have had an entertainment license was another comment that was made. Hiller's Pizza did not have an entertainment license after 2019. There was a statement made. Elaine Lazarus stated that a query check of a common vic licensees was not a requirement, but submission of a query form is listed as a checkbox on the application form, and so it was required. In response, what Elaine said is true. I believe this comment was from Ms. Laskowski. Ms. Laskowski has not read the application form correctly. In fact, this is a general license application form to be used for 5 different licenses. The board has used a consolidated application form for several years to streamline the process for applicants. On the form, it states right above the checklist. The checklist of additional information to be included with the general license application, if applicable. So just because the query form was listed as one of the items that could be checked off on an application form, doesn't mean that it was a requirement at that time for the particular license they are requesting. Additional comments around the town manager unilaterally changed the renewal process without a board vote. The town manager implemented story checks or applicants without authorization from the board, and that the police department has been removed from the process unilaterally by the town manager. So in response to those comments, concerns about the common vic license process were first raised several months ago. Very early on, there was consensus by the board that we should be doing query and story checks of business owners and managers for common vic licenses, and the board's staff understood correctly that this would be implemented for the fall 2025 renewal process. This was clearly stated at meetings. The town manager and her staff have done what the board requested. The board has discussed changing its common vic license process at several meetings. We've reviewed a flow chart and discussed which departments would be reviewing applications. In this year's renewal process, the police department has been involved in the review of the alcohol in Class 1 and Class 2 applications, which is consistent with the board's process review conducted to date. And there's been general discussion of the police department's role in inspections and in providing information. As it's been stated at several meetings, the board will be considering adopting a new written common vic policy this year, and the role of all involved departments will be reviewed. During the renewal process, the board has received the information it has asked for this year. And the last comment that was made was, the town manager has ignored the board's requirements to do a background check of those with financial interest in a business. And so we discussed this at a meeting on November 18th, 2025. The board reviewed requests by Ms. Laskowski and others to include a review for every common vic applicant, financial records, including loans and ownership interests, and to require the submission of personal information forms for owners, shareholders, officers, managers, and persons with a financial interest in the business. It was the consensus of the board on November 18th to not do this. Therefore, the town manager and her staff have acted in accordance with the direction of the board. So that is our response this evening. And so I think that brings us forward to the union contract update. So this board will announce the board's vote to sign a July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028 contract with the Local 272 of the Laborers International Union of North America. And we'll review the terms of the contract. So this was voted on in executive session, but now that it's signed, we wanted to share just kind of an update with the town on the new contract language. with the DPW union. So some of that new language includes, the prior contract allowed employees with 5 years of service to accrue comp time. In the new contract, all employees are eligible. The vacation schedule and accrual was changed to match the schedule for non-union town employees, with the exception that employees hired before July 1st, 2010, with at least 17 years of continuous service will retain the number of days they received under the prior contract. We adjusted bereavement leave to match what is provided to non-union town employees. In the wage schedule, the bottom step was eliminated and a top step was added. The new top step is a longevity step for employees with 15 years of continuous service being eligible. Pay increases are 3% on July 1st, 2025, 2% on July 1st, 2026, and 2% on July 1st, 2027. The cemetery leads person position will receive $3,000 additional per year due to the extra duties performed, and additional stipends were added for employees with certain licenses and certifications pertaining to drinking water, hoisting, and bucket truck certification. We thank the union members for their continued service and dedication to the town, and this contract will be uploaded to the site for all residents to review and see as well. Any comments or thoughts from the board on the contract update?
No? Thank you.
No, I think just to emphasize how collaborative Ms. Lazarus noted the discussions were for us. This felt like an easy one. I would take note of that and thank the unions involved for operating with us in very clearly good faith.
Yep, nothing to add. I think it's good that we have completed it and have everyone happy. And thanks to Lynn and Lance for congenial and very satisfactory negotiation. Thank you.
Perfect. So congrats on getting that signed. So next, we're going to move on to the comprehensive budget submittal for FY27. So the town manager will submit the comprehensive FY27 budget to the select board, and the board will discuss the budget provisions and the process going forward. So for this one, I'd like to have the school committee and appropriations join us. Kyle as well.
So Michael Arakalian from Appropriations is on the Zoom, so we could liven him up.
Okay.
I don't see Susan. Who else were we? Not yet, unless she's under a different name.
Well, we are. Yeah. We are a few minutes early, so we can wait 5 to get started because you need quorum. Well, you don't need it. You don't.
Bill,
Susan joins.
Bill is at the ESBC. He said he would switch over to this meeting at 6:30.
Okay.
Okay.
But then, and you said Mike Arakalian's on.
Okay. So we can give it a few minutes so we can start at 6:30. Try and get everyone out of here on time tonight.
Jamie, I have to acknowledge how intimidatingly well-behaved your children are.
You say that on the way out. just for good luck.
Can we do the
This is hard for
consent
adults
agenda?
to engage with.
Can we do the consent agenda in 5 minutes, maybe?
Yep.
Kyle and Kyla can sit next to each other.
Act like we're friendly. We know each other.
So if you guys don't mind, we're going to do the consent agenda while we give it a few minutes, okay? So the board will consider the following consent agenda. Select board will consider approving the minutes of the December 15th, 2025 meeting. The select board will consider accepting the resignations of Stacy Schmidt from the Council on Aging and Kanchan Ter and Laura Green from the Hopkinton Cultural Council. The board will consider approving a request from the Marathon Fund Committee for $2,000 to be used for funding a DJ at the May 12th, 2026 Hopkinton High School Senior Parent Dinner being held at Gillette Stadium. Select board will consider confirming the town manager's appointment of Sabrina Raymond as administrative assistant in the finance department. The select board will consider approving a parade permit application from Hopkinton Little League for the opening day parade on May 3rd, 2026 at 11:30 a.m. with a rain date of May 10th, 2026. Parade route will start on Main Street at the Town Common and end at a driveway at Carrigan Park. Road closures are requested on Main Street from the Town Common to 85 Main Street. And the board will consider accepting a donation of $1,000 from the Hopkinton Mums Group, Inc. to the Hopkinton Public Library to be used where needed. So with that, I'll look to the board if there's anything you want to break out or discuss.
I have two
Make a
quick
motion.
I have two quick questions. I don't know that they require breakouts. Elaine, on the donation to the Hopkinton Public Library, can you explicitly donate to a town department? Or do they have to donate to like the Friends of the Library, something like that?
No, you can donate to a town department,
Okay.
But the select board has to accept it.
select board has to accept it, goes into a separate account that can be spent only for that purpose.
Okay. Thank you. My first time seeing it like that. And then I wanted to just ask, I noticed 2 resignations on Culture Council. Is there something going on there or anything we should be concerned about or aware of?
I have not heard of anything.
Okay. It just caught me, unusual to see 2 at the same time.
It's a really large committee, where they have maybe 15
One is
people.
aging, too.
I think that contributes to it.
2 cultural and 1 aging.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very uncommon.
Just not used to seeing multiple from the same committee at the same time. Wanted to make sure there wasn't something bigger we could be getting involved in as leaders. Sounds okay.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Scheidel, Amy, comments? You want to pull anything out or make a motion?
No, nothing particular, just thanks to Kanchan, Stacy, and Laura for their service, and thanks to the donation from the marathon funds.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any final thoughts? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you.
So there's a few more people.
We should have Mrs. Richards Kavanaugh.
There's someone marked Nancy. It could be Nancy Kavanaugh.
Yes, she said she was coming. The elementary school building committee meeting's over.
Okay.
And Bill is now on.
We got Bill.
We've got them both, we think?
Sorry, they're getting livened up one at a time. So Evan Bishop is on, Michael Arcalian, Susan Rothamich, and Bill Flannery. And now we got Nancy.
Like to call the
Great.
meeting
Can I
to
call my meeting to order?
order? Yep.
Second. Oh, yeah. Great. Nancy?
She's muted. I think she's unmuted.
Sorry. Yes, aye.
Yes. Hello. Good.
Hello.
All right. We're all set.
Perfect. Do you guys have a quorum?
Yep, and we do have a quorum, so we call our meeting to order at 6:29.
Perfect. All right, so welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending. Can everyone on the Zoom hear us that just joined us?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Can you hear me as well? Bill Flannery?
Yes.
We can, Bill.
Okay, thanks. We need to call our meeting to order as well.
Jean just did.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. Perfect, so thank you, everyone, for coming. Elaine, do you want to walk us through the budget submittal for this evening?
Yes,
Get us started.
thank you. So in your packet, I provided the FY27 comprehensive budget transmittal. And I'll just briefly describe that, and we'll turn it over to Kyla to give a little bit more information. So the transmitted FY27 budget is within the constraints of Proposition 2.5. It complies with the town's financial policies. It incorporates the use of funds available with the estimates received to date. It reflects a sensitivity to tax impact, and it addresses long-term financial stability by funding key liabilities and reserves. It's a balanced budget. Not all department requests have been included, and some decisions have been made along the way to trim the budgets to get to the balanced budget. The school committee has not yet voted on a recommended budget, so this contains the most recent proposed budget. We understand they'll be voting later this week on that. So the transmittal forecasts revenues that are 7.46% above the budgeted revenue level for FY26. Local receipts are estimated to increase 40%, largely driven by investment income. Free cash certification is expected soon, and state aid is estimated to increase by 4%, and that's pending additional information from the governor and the legislature in the next couple of months. With regard to the uses of funds, the expenses, town departments were requested to provide level service budgets for FY27, and this is defined as an increase of 3.5% average for salaries and a 2% increase for expenses. So that was the target identified by the board. The aggregated budgets resulted in a 7% increase and a budget shortfall. And then in the initial reviews of their budgets with departments, we identified areas where there were funds or requests that could be reduced if needed. So in reducing, to get at that shortfall, Kyla and I revisited those items, and I've discussed each of those with the relevant department heads. The proposed budget for town departments, non-school town departments, retains the core services and important services. The changes to budget requests can be discussed in greater detail at the upcoming budget review meetings that you'll have with each department over the next month and a half, and most of them are listed in my memo as well. The proposed budget does include a contribution of $896,888 to the OPEB fund, and it includes a contribution of $700,000 to the stabilization fund to bring that close to the 5% target of operating spending. The town is fortunate to have a robust amount of free cash again this year, but it's not a sustainable or reliable revenue source over time. It does allow us to meet some of our capital project needs. There will be borrowing proposed for 2 water projects within the enterprise fund, and the capital projects proposed for FY27 are included in my transmittal as an attachment along with the 5-year forecast. The tax impact continues to be an important concern, especially as we consider the challenges of seniors, young families, and others struggling to stay in Hopkinton. The tax impact from this budget transmittal is projected to be 6.06% on existing taxpayers. So as the budget review progresses, we'll continue to monitor and report on the refinement of current estimates involving the sources of revenue and the projected expense amounts. And I'd like to thank my town staff colleagues, department heads, and town boards, commissions, and committees for their collaborative effort and continued support in bringing these materials to this point for consideration. And I truly appreciate the collaborative nature of the budget process, and I encourage residents to also be involved in providing feedback and recommendations throughout the process. At this point, Kyla will provide a little bit more information.
So I don't have a lot to add, but I do want to call out the second attachment, which is the 5-year forecast. I want to provide a little bit of clarity because the numbers on this attachment are alarming. And I want to just calm some nerves about the deficits that are reflected here. So for 2028, you're going to see a negative 34 million, 29, 36 million. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that that includes capital requests as part of our 5-year plan. What I am proposing, because this is the format that we've used historically, is that we change this because this is very misleading, thinking that we're going to have this $34 million deficit. When in fact, if you change the look of this and you take out the capital and you zero out free cash, because we're not going to have the level of free cash that we have today, our deficit right now for 2028 looks more in the line of 6 million, not 34 million. So going forward, you're going to see a different, it's going to look the same, but our capital is going to be called out as a separate line item, not part of the operating budget, and our free cash is going to come down to 0. So as the town accountant and I were talking about the new policy around free cash, we think a 5% buffer on free cash is what the town should, the guideline of what the town should adhere to in our financial policy. And Shahidul, we can discuss further, but looking at the calculations, that's a fair indication of where I think we should land. Anything more than that, we're not budgeting correctly. So going forward, we'll call out our capital expenditures, we'll zero out free cash, and that will be a better indicator of what our operating expense looks like going forward in our forecast. So 34 million is not, intended to create drama. So I want to just make sure everyone understands that.
Yep. I mean, it's a very important thing to call out. I'll look for the board. Do we have any comments or thoughts around that specifically? Amy, you want to start?
I don't think I'm ready to comment. I'm thinking about it a little bit.
Okay.
So you can go to the next person.
So you're saying there's a $34 million deficit next year if we include capital expenses and operational expenses as currently forecast?
It's not necessarily a deficit. We won't have that level of free cash, so we will have to go out for debt in order to fund the capital projects.
So this is why I asked the question that way, because I wanted to make sure it was clear to people. That's fancy finance talk for more borrowing, more debt, more interest, more long-term service payments. I appreciate the creativity here in terms of trying to normalize so we can just look at operational expenses. A $6 million deficit is certainly different than 34. You and I joked about $2 million the other day. We shake the couch cushions for $2 million. $6 million is a shake of 2 couches, or 3 if we're doing math well. So, okay, I'm with you there, but, and I apologize for being sort of the specter of the other side of this, that the CapEx budget was submitted in good faith. I have to believe that these are items that are relevant. I'm looking at my colleagues from the school committee, and I know some of the big items there are HVAC. In some cases, this is extant to the building. I mean, I'd love to sit up here and swing a hammer about spending money and whether we really need to do this, but kids need to breathe good air and they need to be heated and cooled to be in the schools, and we have legal requirements there as well. So I can appreciate the way you're reflecting this to us, but I guess I'd like to ask, how much of that CapEx budget do you and town staff currently perceive as being fungible? Because you're essentially presenting it to me as being elective.
I'm not sure if I understand the question, but in the $32 million that's included here in capital expenditure, those are all requests which are included in your 5-year plan within the memo.
Right. Let me try again. I think what I'm trying to ask, Kyla, is from your perspective, you've essentially zeroed out the budget to show us it's 6 versus 34, but there's still 28 in CapEx there. In order to view it that way, I have to at least entertain the notion that some, if not all of those, will not be approved. So this is me trying to ask, has any conversation happened in that regard about whether or not we'll be revisiting the 5-year capital plan, or was the purpose just to highlight the deficiency of OpEx versus CapEx?
We have not had in-depth conversations for FY '28 and '29 regarding our capital expenditures. So they are just purely requests based on the department heads and what they think they're going to need at that point in time.
Okay. And I know you and I talked about this, but I'm going to say it out loud so people get the benefit of the conversation. Kyla, that sounds like an override, but I remember you specifically telling me that this would not require an override, and I should not use that term, so I will not use it, but could you explain in a little more detail here, if we truly did do all 34 million, so both the CapEx and the OpEx respectively, can you walk us through what that would actually look like so that we can understand and the taxpayer can understand what new debt they would actually be accruing?
And it all depends on what is debt excluded as opposed to what is included in Prop 2.5. Knowing these big projects, the majority of the projects would be excluded debt, which means that it's outside of the 2.5%, so it would have an impact on your tax rate outside of the 2.5%. It has nothing to do with an override.
Okay, perfect.
Can I just clarify? So people would get to vote on these individually, so they may not even all pass.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. Again, folks, I'm trying to do this out in a level of detail and trying to boil it down to make it just a touch more accessible, and because I want you to know that we are having these conversations. We don't always, I'll speak for myself, I don't always do a good job of reflecting these here. So please know that the conversation I'm trying to have with Ms. LaPierre right now is so that we can have a back and forth to try and make this a little bit plainer. I really do appreciate the work here, and I think the last thing I just want to underscore, because we have shifted budget software, and I think Kyla has emphasized this, we're not expecting to be carrying the free cash balances that we had. You and I talked about if we saw a department for more than 2 or 3 years generating free cash variance, that's something we'd be looking at. What I hope you hear that in the town as, it is more likely we will need to borrow or need to have hard conversations about what capital expenses we approve, because we are less likely to just have money hanging around to pay for them consistently. That's going to be a change in how we fund things and our ways of work, and I just want to make sure that you all understand that. It's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing, it's just a statement of fact. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Kyla and Elaine, Lance, and the team for putting it together, and the school committee as well, and appropriations, everyone's contribution. I think this is shaping up. Of course, we don't like the 1.8 deficit at the moment, and we don't like the override either. And I have a few questions. First, kind of clarifying, and then I'll give a couple of comments. One is, I agree with the 5%. I think that's close to what I was thinking, so I appreciate that. And that should help us with the OpEx going forward, is my projection based on the previous experiences. Because if we are doing 12 million, 15 million year over year, last 2-3 years, even though there are some anomalies, but it should ease up a little bit from the OpEx side. So speaking of which, on the OpEx front, you had the local receipts now 30% growth. Is that sustainable? It's up from 6.6 million to 9.3 million this year.
So it's a 40% growth.
40%, yeah.
Yeah, and that's primarily based on investment income, because we were projecting a flat increase of investment income, and with all of the prudent investment that we've been doing this year, we have actually tripled our interest income. So we're projecting that we're going to make about 3.5 million as opposed to 1.5. So that's the majority of the swing.
Okay. So it may not be sustainable. With the Greenland talk going on, it may tank up soon. Hopefully not too bad. But anyways, so that's not in your calculation for 27 and forward. That's what I wanted to kind of clarify.
Yeah, once we make this adjustment about what real revenue looks like, obviously we're not going to have 40% increases year over year.
Right. No, makes sense. Then on the new growth side, it also is projected to go down by 30%. We are having almost 65 new apartments or new building. Is that included in the projection?
It is, after talking to the principal assessor and knowing that the large swing that we had this year. So our original projection for 2026 was 1.6 million, and it actually came in at 1.2 million, which hurt us on the tax recap. We didn't want to have to go through that same swing again, so we're actually erring on the side of caution and going in with 800,000.
Okay, understood. Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think going conservative is a good idea. I would just adjust or kind of reconcile with the major known growths, and maybe that's what the assessor has given and done, just to check on that. For the peace of mind, we'll know more as we get in there, because 800, with the developments that we are seeing and know, seems a little low. But again, this is a variable, so we can't count too much on that. Third question, I see the special ed reserve is zeroed out for the subsequent years. What's the reason for that, and what's the impact?
It's now included in the school budget.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you saw a big increase in our budget this year, which really wasn't a big increase. It was just.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the 1 million increase on that.
People were saying we were up so much, but we weren't.
Yeah, you got a few new allocations. Okay. Yeah, just wanted to make sure we have that. Now, a little more on the, I think, potential reduction side. Elaine, with these 7 or 8 elimination or reduction, what is the impact we are anticipating, or were these like good to have, a little bit nice to have, or is it going to cut us to the bone and we are going to see impact on our quality of service?
Yeah, these were proposed items as far as the positions go. So none of the positions are occupied by anyone. They're proposed positions or a vacant position that has never been occupied. With regard to some of the other things that are in there, I anticipate some discussion on that, such as the holiday lights when we go forward. So I'm sure there'll be discussion of those.
Sure, yeah. I think holiday lights, the residents raised 10K this year, and obviously shows the enthusiasm and how much people love it. I would love to include that. For 10K, it probably is a blip, but still, money is money. I get that. At the same time, when we're, increasing taxes, some small wins like this might be healthy. Then, with those, coming to the projection, I agree, you want to probably build the capital cost as a scenario rather than embedded in it. That looks scary, and it's not an accurate projection because those are discretionary and goes into votes and all that. So that would give us a little bit more, I think, realistic view. And you know this, so you propose that. I appreciate that. And then on the OpEx side, is there any firm principle we have that could give us a little bit of leeway? What I mean by that, for example, and we definitely want to keep our safety nets with the stabilization funds and the OPEB, but can you tell, for everyone's understanding, what is our regulatory and risk requirement? And where will we be with these projections? For example, OPEB, we were at, I forgot, 15%. But anyways, since I don't remember, say we were supposed to be at X, and with this projection, we are going to be X plus 2% or 3%. Can you tell us that picture? I'm looking for a little more tuning if there is opportunity, but of course not at the cost of, accepting higher risk than we should.
Are you asking when are we going to be fully funded? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking, for example, our stabilization, we want to stay at 5%. So with this projection, are we going to be at 5.2, 5.5, or are we going to be at 7 or 8%?
Yeah, we'll be slightly above 5.
Okay, so there's no room there. Same question for OPEB.
There's no specific goal with OPEB other than making sure we're fully funded by the mid-2050s.
Correct. And we were in the 30s or low 40s, right, earlier. Do you know what the projection now is?
I don't have that.
Okay. I think last I remember it was 2045 or 42, something like that. 48. Yeah. Okay. So we are close to that. Again, I'm looking for opportunities to adjust if at all possible without risking anything. So besides that, there's really not much I see that we can save. In fact, your snow and ice is also zeroed out, which we know it's not going to be zero. It's close to at least $500,000 to $1 million. So I think it's good reflection of the state of things, and we need to be super careful on our budget going forward, as we are. We all are getting our heads together, and it's not gonna get easier. However, I am counting on at least 3 years out on some of the economic activities with our downtown and economic planning. I'm counting on some of the growth adjusted because we have a little more capacity or adjusted capacity on school. So that's natural, but hopefully it'll stabilize a little bit. But again, we have to be super cautious, super careful, and capital budget is certainly something we want to be extra careful about.
Yeah, you will see a blank line item on the sources and uses for transfer to capital stabilization. Once we have a good feel of what our certified free cash is, we'll know how much we can actually put in there this year. But it is a line item that we will fill when we know what that is.
Thank you. Actually, that's a last quick question. So for stabilization, historically and even this year, we are using the free cash. But in the forecast, we are using it from the OpEx, as it should be. Is that correct?
From my understanding, we've always used free cash to fund stabilization as well as OPEB.
And in the future forecasts, you have done it accordingly?
Yeah, the goal is to continue
using the free cash. Okay, so there's no room there either. Okay, thank you.
All right, I've got one question. Actually, Amy, I kind of wanted to go back to you.
Oh, yeah. I did wonder about the pavement management plan reduction of $100,000. I guess when the DPW comes before us, we'll find out why. But it just seems like we have so many DPW needs. I'm surprised we would be reducing it.
So it's actually level funded to what was funded for 2026. So she originally asked for an $800,000 budget, and we reduced it to $600,000, given the Chapter 90 funds that she has able to secure.
Okay, but she still wanted 100,000 more
She wanted $200,000 more,
But some will come from Chapter 90. Okay. All right. But we get a lot of complaints about roads and things, so it would be nice to fully fund what she needed if we could.
The meeting started with a complaint about the roads.
Yes.
All set?
I think I'm all set, yeah.
Okay. I just kind of wanted to recapture some of this and then hand it over to appropriations in the school. But, for me, the big thing is, so we were looking at a $34 million deficit. You took out the capital requests, the free cash. When I look at FY29, I'm seeing a almost $37 million deficit. I'm assuming, not assuming, but it looks like most of that is from capital requests as well. And, it's, I guess, less of a question and more of a point. Like, as we head towards town meeting in a couple of months, like, it's not just like one or two capital projects that the town's going to be voting on. Like, we've got to be cognizant of that. Like, we have needs this year, we have needs next year as well, because that's 2 years in a row. And we knew these were going to be the two big years, right? It drops down significantly after that. But still, the impact of the taxpayers is going to be felt over the next 2 years. So I think it's really important that as we get to town meeting and we have more of these meetings in the coming months that we discuss, take this whole comprehensive view that we've been doing. And the school committee did a great job at the last meeting looking out into the next couple of years with those capital requests so that we can just have as many residents informed as possible to these projects, because we do need them, but we also got to be cognizant of how we choose to select them. So with that, I'll pause, and appropriations, schools, who would like to kind of chime in?
I could just say on capital expenses for people to pay attention as we discuss this HVAC issue within the schools. Mr. Kistner brought up, we have some creative solutions with that, with the Sustainable Green Committee, some using some of the money that hopefully will not be spent on our school building projects at this point. Some that were already closer to completion with Hopkins and some that are early on with Charleswood. So for the public to stay tuned and really engage with the school committee on that, really, as we move through some different scenarios, I think it's really important. But we thank you all for your support in our budget.
And I think you called out a really important point. Like, we're looking at savings for Hopkins, early estimations for Charleswood, right? Like, and again, all that, that doesn't just get used for other projects. It goes back to town. It goes back to town meeting. Residents get to vote on that as well. It's not just already spent. I think it's important for people to remember that.
First, I want to thank you. I don't remember in the last, 15 years that I've been part of this, being at this point, at this time in the calendar, with the budget in such good shape. And I know that's been a tremendous amount of work on both of your behalfs. And I think that you've done a great job of taking a really fresh set of eyes and looking not only at the numbers, but also at the process and the presentation. And Kyla, I think your suggestion about breaking out the capital is really critical. Those two budgets are very different. Kyla just gave us a great example of why, because you have a huge cost for the HVAC, but then that doesn't factor in grants and a lot of things that bring that down. And so there's too much in those numbers to tell the story accurately. And I think it's really helpful to get an idea going forward about what's operating versus capital. So especially because we handle and vote on them differently. So mostly I just wanted to say thank you. I think we're in a very strong position, which I really didn't expect for this year. And so really, really good job. I have a lot of questions about individual line items, but those departments are coming to us. So I'm not gonna walk everybody through that right now, other just to say that I really like what you're doing about being intentional about and very thoughtful about presentation and how we can help everybody understand this better and in a different way than we've done before. So that's all I want to say tonight, but I know I have two of my friends here on Zoom, so I want to let them go too.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes, thanks. And Kyla, I too agree. That seems like a great idea to back out the capital projects. But I'm just curious, and I'm not sure that you'll have an answer now, although you might. When we back out that 28 million, assuming everything's approved, any guess on what that will do to the debt service? probably wouldn't affect it that year because we know it takes a while to get projects approved and borrow money. But what does 28 million in new capital projects do to additional debt service for the following year? Any idea what that would equate to?
We would obviously go short-term with the debt, so we would issue a ban as opposed to a bond, which would save us money, at least for the first 3 years, Bill. But it's too early to tell what the interest rate and what the payment would be on that.
Okay. And my other follow-up is, at what point in the calendar do we get the current S&P rating?
We will be going through an interview in May. So we started to fill out all of the documentation today, and we'll go through the S&P interview in May.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Anyone else? Well, first, anyone on Zoom? I know Nancy was out there.
Alien is also on Zoom.
Okay. Mike, can you hear us? Any comments, thoughts? Okay. I know Nancy's on as well, so.
And Susan?
Oh, Susan is on? Okay. Nancy or Susan, any comments?
Michael Eric has he's logged in with 2 devices. The Mike Lead is iPhone. You can liven that one up too.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I have no other questions other than what Bill has stated. Over.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Anyone else have any questions for schools, appropriations?
I do have one more quickie. Kyla L. Hi. MWRA. Is that reflected in any of the numbers that I am seeing tonight?
Yes, it's in the 5-year capital plan.
Okay, so the numbers I am reviewing are reflective of what our current understanding of the proposed cost of connection is.
Correct. Currently, it's in the enterprise numbers. It's not included in the general fund.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking it this way, just to emphasize for folks, we don't have a good idea of what this number is going to be yet. This is what we understand it to be now. I would bet an awful lot of money it will look different, up or down. I just want to be clear. We're having a good discussion. I'm really excited about where we are. There is still some significant variance in a known, likely mandatory expense for us that is coming. I think Kyla said this very well. Let's keep our ears open. Let's keep our eyes up.
Perfect. All right, if no one has anything else, I thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for taking the time. I'm sure we'll see you all soon.
We're going to close our meeting
you.
at 6:59.
Yep.
Move to adjourn.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Oh, vote. Jamie?
Yes.
I vote aye.
Nancy? Susan?
Yes.
Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Bill, Mike, Jean made a motion to adjourn.
If they all leave, it's the same results. It doesn't matter.
Can you hear me? I agree.
You've already lost your quorum anyway.
Yeah. All right, thank you, everyone.
Seriously, kudos to schools for the work you did. This is going this way because of you guys and Kyla.
Aline, the big document that you presented tonight in the packet, that will be on, will that be on the website in a new section for the town meeting?
It's already there.
It is already there, okay.
Moving on, the Select Board will consider renewing annual licenses for the following businesses. Section 12, restaurant, all alcohol and associated licenses for 110 Grill, Common Vic, alcohol and entertainment, Pan Thai, Common Vic, alcohol and entertainment. Section 12, Club, all alcohol and associated licenses for Woodville Rod and Gun. Section 15, Package Store, all alcohol license for the Vin Bin, Hopkins Wine and Spirits. Common Vic licenses for the Muffin House and Crust & Co., Class 1 and Class 2 for Main Street Service Center, livery license for Able Limousine. Select Board will also consider granting an extension of licenses for businesses for whom the annual inspections are not yet complete. Section 12, restaurant, all alcohol and associated licenses for Cornell's Irish Pub, Hopkins Country Club, Co Restaurant, Rapscallion, Hopkins Center for the Arts, and the Arcos Hospitality. Section 19C, Farmer Brewery pouring permit for Startline Brewing. Common vic licenses for Era Market Dell, 176 South Street and 228 South Street, Blue Square Pizza, Starbucks at Price Chopper, Starbucks Coffee at 85 West Main Street, Red Barn Coffee at Angel's Cafe, Domino's Pizza, and Hopio. Class 1 and Class 2 licenses for Bulldog Fire Apparatus. And that is it. So we're looking at kind of two motions here, approving the ones that are finished, extensions for those who have not. You know, Elaine, I think, you know, we've been doing this for, what's this, third meeting in a row where we've gone through the licenses? So just to reiterate, like, everything's in line, all inspections done for the first section of the ones that that we put in here, correct?
Yes, and I'd just like to add that today, Bulldog Fire Apparatus, their inspections were complete, so they can now receive their license as well. So in the motions, we have included them in the motion to grant that.
I'm just making a note, if the board has comments, questions here.
I think I'll just, because Brian's not here, I'll ask it explicitly in his absence. Ms. Lazarus, when we say this is all clean and buttoned up, there was nothing unexpected here? We got all the information we were looking for?
Yes,
Nothing on the Corey Sorry?
nothing on the Corey Sorries.
You're here in our hearts, Brian. Thank you.
I think it's clear pretty much, but we followed the new process and there's no concern or any question, and all the background checks and everything came out clear. That's my understanding.
That's good.
Thank you.
Good. Let's rock.
Yep. Amy, you good?
Nope, that sounds good, thank you.
All right, so then,
Going forward, so there are businesses then who are still being continued. So most of those have had their initial inspections and are awaiting scheduling of follow-up inspections. And only 2 businesses remain that haven't been inspected. And the town is working with the landlord and the business owners to schedule access to those locations. So the ABCC has given a deadline of February 6th for submission of local inspection and compliance documents for alcohol licenses. So all the alcohol licensees have to be completed at the next meeting, or they will have to reapply for a new license. So we've informed them of this, that they need to get everything done by your next meeting. And so that's a deadline for the alcohol licensees.
Sorry, if you wouldn't mind expanding on that, because it was a question I was going to ask you anyway. Of the ones that are here for extension before us today, are there any in which you, the town, are waiting from things from the business and not the business is waiting for us to do inspections?
Yes, so the spreadsheet that's in the packet contains generally the list of what's outstanding,
Okay.
and that's correct.
If you wouldn't mind, for the benefit of those, are there any, would you mind summarizing the items that are still outstanding to you? I'd like to suggest to my colleagues that I'd like to have at least a little bit of a different conversation about items which are still outstanding to the town. In theory, we were supposed to have granted all of these licenses by the end of last calendar year, and today is the 20th of January. I think at some point there does need to be a touch of accountability, to say nothing of respecting the time and efforts of town staff.
Good question, Mr. Kisner. I would, through the chair, ask it a little differently. I know we had to institute a new process, and because of that, our initial delay was from us in some ways, that we needed that decision for our board approval and all that. Now, this delay, is this normal, or is it because of the new process? You think everything just started a little bit late, or is this, to Mr. Kisner's point, anything that's outstanding that we should review?
So everything that is in the inspection grid is what has been done before, except the 90-minute test that's required now by code. So a few of the applicants need what's called the 90-minute test, and that has not occurred yet.
What is?
It has to do with the fire access.
yeah. So just to name a few, I'm just looking off like the top of the list and the first couple in orange. So like those first 3 I'm seeing highlighted are Startline, Cornell's, and Co. You know, they have not completed the fire or the building inspection. It looks like Cornell's has passed the electrical. So that 90-minute test I see is, and again, this is all public, right? This gets posted with the agenda, so people can go in and look, like to your question, and see, hey, it's, there's very specific things, and we certainly understand, like, as the town has grown, like the burden for these inspections that start at the end of November, through the holidays to this point, it's a small window to get all of these done. So I think it's a very reasonable thing that's to be asked. That's why we're discussing it. And it looks like, again, each meeting we've chipped away at a few of these. So I guess my concern is around, you said, is that a new ABC directive for, what'd you say, February 5th?
So they have always had a deadline, but we've never had an issue of meeting the deadline before.
Okay.
Do we technically have another meeting scheduled before that deadline?
February 3rd, yeah.
Okay. There's more math that I wanted to do.
Have we communicated to the fire department and building?
We've communicated, everyone is aware of what needs to be done, and the applicants as well. A lot of these need to be provided by the applicant. For example, the 90-minute test is something they have to do and then provide the report.
Yeah.
But that's not new, is it? The 90?
It is new.
Oh, this is the first year?
In the
Okay.
building code.
But that is where I'm going in terms of I would consider that an item that is outstanding and due to the town, and I would view that very differently than, say, the building inspector or the fire inspector.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, okay. And it looks like there are several of those on here.
So there were some reports and repairs needed in various locations.
And then they have to schedule that with the contractor and then get it re-inspected, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sensing any themes amongst the things that are late to you, either from a business perspective in terms of like you've got a couple customers, let's say, that you're going back and forth with, or I know this 90-minute test is coming up, but I'm trying to understand if there is a pattern in the work that is hanging on here and if there's anything we can do to help influence it.
I don't know that there's a pattern, but I think we need to stress to applicants that these are important and they shouldn't wait till the last minute, that we need to start earlier.
So Ms. Lazarus is being nice. I will not be nice about it. I don't intend to vote for these extensions. I will not speak and do not speak for my other three colleagues, but you have already lost me. You have one more meeting. I would really like to see some progress here and an indication that you understand and that you value the time of not just the four of us up here, we are volunteers as well, but to the town staff. This has gone on an awful lot longer than it should have, and it is now well past just needing additional time to coordinate things.
And so just to clarify, this ABC deadline of February 5th, right after our next meeting, that applies to all, like the Section 12 all alcohol and associated, the Section 12 club, and the Section 15 package store?
Yeah, all of the alcohol licenses.
All of them.
Farmer brewery.
Just wanted
And the
to make
farmer
sure.
brewery.
And the brewery?
Busy 13 days, folks.
Okay.
If there is nothing else, I'll take the punishment on reading.
I was going to say, I really appreciate having the grid this year, every meeting, because we hadn't followed this process as closely in the past, and so it's good for us to see too where the people get stuck and what are the things holding people up. So I really appreciate the color-coded every week.
This is great. This is the first year we've done this, and it's been very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I would echo the same. I think this is a new process, and also the 90-minute I'm hearing is new. And it's a handful of business, so there's a trend, obviously. So, and I think it's better that we announce and reach out to them and say, hey, this is the last window. After that, you'll have to reapply. That way we have a concrete timeline in front of them. Not that we didn't, that'll help. That'll be my thinking on that.
Perhaps we could say if they're not ready by the next meeting, we would expect a statement from the business explaining why, before we would extend it again.
Or attendance, perhaps?
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah, good idea. So with that,
Well, it sounds like,
I move to,
hold on, just before you do, just to clarify that, Amy, it sounds like we cannot extend, right?
Not the alcohol ones.
The alcohol ones, we cannot extend.
No.
Yes.
A couple of them are not alcohol, right? Hopio, HCA?
I'm sorry, the alcohol we cannot extend tonight?
No, after
After,
February.
yeah. That's
So
right.
one more extension. That's why I was trying to swing the hammer about please, please, please.
Right, makes sense.
All right.
I move to renew the following annual licenses: 110 Grill, 1 Lumber Street, Common Victualier, Section 12, all alcohol and entertainment licenses. Panthai, 15 Main Street, Common Victualier, Section 12, all alcohol and entertainment licenses. The Win Bin, 22 South Street. Section 15, all alcohol license. Main Street Service Center, 96 Main Street, Class 1 and Class 2 auto dealer licenses. Able Limousine, 102 East Main Street, livery license. Hopkinton Wine and Spirits, 77 West Main Street, Section 15, all alcohol license. Muffin House Cafe, 43 Main Street, common victualler license. Woodville Road and Gun Club, 252 Wood Street, common victualler, Section 12, all alcohol and entertainment licenses. Crust and Company, 77 West Main Street, common victualler and entertainment licenses. Bulldog Fire Apparatus, Inc., 17 Winter Street, Class 1 auto dealer license.
Second.
Before we vote, can we confirm that that should not be Class 1 and Class 2? It's listed as Class 1 and Class 2 for Bulldog Fire in the packet before me, but it's just Class 1 over here in the motion. Should it be both?
Not necessarily, they're different licenses.
Thank you. Because I didn't see it listed under extension either.
So all the licenses for that business are ready. So whatever they applied for.
I'm reading Class 1 and Class 2 licenses as like the section header, and okay, my apologies, Ian. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any final thoughts? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is
Mr.
unanimous.
Chair, I move to grant an extension of the following licenses to no later than February 4th, the day after the next Select Board meeting. Section 12, restaurant, all alcohol and associated licenses, Cornell's Irish Pub, Hopkinton Country Club, Core Restaurant, Rapskillion, Hopkinton Center for the Arts, Arcos Hospitality. Section 19C, Farmer Brewery Pouring Permit, Startline Brewing Company, common victualler licenses for Aramark at Dell, 176 South Street and 228 South Street. Blue Square Pizza, Starbucks at Price Chopper, Starbucks Coffee at 85 West Main Street, Red Barn Coffee at Angels Cafe, Domino's Pizza, Hopio.
Second.
And is that to the February 4th?
Yes. Okay. Or that's what he said.
We've got a motion and a second. Any final thoughts?
You're going to hear a no from me, and I apologize to the businesses that are waiting on things from the town in good faith, but I unfortunately feel as though I need to send a bit of a bigger message here.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thank you.
And the town manager will communicate to these businesses that we would expect either an explanation or for them to come in person next time? Okay, if they're not ready.
So moving on, Select Board will consider reviewing conflict of interest and financial interest disclosure forms submitted by the town manager, fire chief, and police chief pertaining to preparation, presentation, explaining, and providing advice or recommendations on a budget that contains their salary. The board will consider determining whether the interest is not so substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the services which the town may expect from the employees. Town council recommends that every department head that advances budgetary recommendations that include salary file disclosures with their appointing authority due to a recent decision of the State Ethics Commission that affects all municipalities. So do you want to introduce this? This is a new thing that came down from the state as we just walked through. It's, anyone that's submitting a budget with their own salary in it, it potentially could be a conflict of interest. And I think I understand where that's coming from, and I also understand the need for our department heads to submit their salaries inside of their budget, so.
Yes, so there's nothing more to say other than what you've said, but town council is hoping that that their ruling will be more broadly interpreted and every department head won't have to submit the forms annually as we would have to do.
Okay. I'll look to the board. Thoughts, questions? Shadul, you want to start?
No, I understand this is a new process, so we are saying this. This is pretty standard, and I'm sure every town is going through this, so I appreciate that.
I'll echo that and just note, we ultimately get the opportunity to verify and ask questions about that as part of budgetary review and endorsement. So even if it truly did have an impact, and boy, do I not think it does, it's ultimately incumbent on us to be reviewing and doing our oversight diligence.
Thanks. Amy?
No, I think it's a good idea to have this in writing and everybody filled it out and how that they could perform their duties objectively. And so will other departments have to do this? Is that what you're saying next year?
Yes, so I've asked the department heads to report to the town manager to submit the forms, so I continuing to receive those. So before they come before you, those forms will have been received by me.
Okay, and this will be filed with the town clerk, the way other people, sometimes committee members have to file a disclosure with town
They
clerk?
get filed with the appointing authority,
Oh, so with us, okay.
so that some get filed with the town manager, some with you, and some with, say, the Board of Health, Parks and Rec.
But to Amy's broader point, all requestable, all discoverable.
Everybody can
Yes,
look
all
them up.
public record.
And they're in our packet,
Yep.
too. But people can look them up if they would like.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I move to determine that the financial interest described in the financial disclosure forms submitted by Elaine Lazarus, Town Manager, Gary Doherty, Fire Chief, and Joseph Bennett, Police Chief, is not so substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the services which the town may expect from them.
Second.
Perfect. Motion and a second. Any final thoughts?
Thank you for leading the charge on this one. I agree it's a best practice.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Next, the Select Board will consider reviewing and voting to submit articles in the 2026 Annual Town Meeting warrant. The warrant closes on February 1st, 2026. All right. Make it back to us. Obviously, this is our last meeting before the warrant closes, so.
Page 70.
What? Oh, thank you.
I was just saying, I got to ask for next time. They're not visible on mine.
Yeah, page 69, 70, yeah. Those are the ones we've already submitted into the warrant, right?
On I'm using your pad. I just get like a blank screen past page 9.
Oh,
Takes a
Give it
while
a
to,
second to load. It's, yeah.
takes a few seconds, I think.
no internet or something, right?
Elaine, I had a quick question.
The file. It's not
What is our
properly.
last day for accepting any warrant? Are we past that?
February 1st.
So we have one more week, maybe,
Yeah, but,
a little over a week.
yeah, but we don't, the board doesn't meet again, right? Like that's, anything the board wants to vote in as a warrant article, we need to do tonight. Our next meeting's the 3rd, I think. So this is our last meeting.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. So I understand, and thank you for clarifying that. In future, we may want to think about how can we align, because people may be thinking they still have February 1. But if it comes through February 1st, what happens to those?
So they can submit to our office anytime.
Citizens petitions could.
Citizens petitions, boards and committees, the warrant's still open, they can keep submitting. They don't have to submit to this board, they can submit to us.
Right.
And if there was something in emergency, we could have another meeting real quick to add.
Yeah, but I was just clarifying, that is open for longer, but February 1 is the formal submission deadline, right? But there is an anomaly because essentially it's today. Because if the ones that comes in the next 10 days, those all needs to be citizens petition. They cannot go through us.
It can come from boards and committees as well, and
Right.
department heads.
But they won't, as Mr. Chair described, they won't get the opportunity for us to review, but that doesn't stop them to submit and go to the town meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because we can't prevent anyone from submitting.
No, he was just clarifying, like, because the board can obviously, we can vote on anything to submit at this meeting right now.
Yep.
But since we don't meet until after the 1st, we won't.
our
be-
last chance.
This is our last chance as a board.
Unless we have an emergency meeting next week, which we could do.
Thank you.
And these are just placeholders, like the e-bike laws, we haven't really discussed what that's going to be, but we'll work on that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure there'll be time, but we'll put that in just to make sure.
I appreciate that you asked about that one, Amy, because that was the one I wanted to ask about. I had the distinct pleasure of having lunch with Ed Harrow last week and learning more about e-bikes and Mass General laws surrounding them than I knew I was going to. But I mention it here specifically because Ed had some concern about a Mass General law that seemed to indicate that we could not restrict use. And that sounded an awful lot different than the conversations we had been having here. So I at least wanted to say that in open meetings so the town could have the benefit of that. We may not be able to put the sort of restrictions in place that we had been hoping for, but there is still some potential creativity around licensing and other things. So it's not a dead issue, but please know it may not work out quite the way we had hoped when we first started talking.
Perfect. So we have a list kind of put together. And Elaine, just, I forget, we've talked about some of these, like, we talked about the TIF last time, but I think we gave the okay to like move forward with it, right, from a negotiation standpoint, but we did not vote it into, none of these have been voted in yet, correct?
We will vote on all of these to make recommendations at some point, and you can take them off the warrant as well.
Okay. So should I just, just for anyone listening at home, like walk through the list, if people aren't seeing it, just, and then we can, if anyone has one that they want to call out or, not supportive of, we can discuss and then make a motion collectively.
We already voted these into the warrant at another meeting, so I would be interested in discussing the ones that we now have more drafts of, but I don't know if we need to list the other ones. That's just my thought, but.
Well, they haven't been submitted yet, but
Oh,
you discussed.
Didn't we just submit them?
We've discussed,
No,
that's,
we waited to do it as.
Oh, okay, all right, never mind. Then we should go over them all, yeah.
yeah. So I'll just list them and then, you can each, like, if you have one you want to pull out and we can talk about, we'll just go one at a time, but I want everyone to hear them kind of together. So, for the select board, we had, the acceptance of town reports, set the salary of elected officials. Those are both, pretty standard ones. Civil fingerprinting, amend existing bylaw to include common vic licenses. This is part of our new process that we've been discussing since the fall. Establish revolving fund for municipal aggregation funds. Establish a revolving fund for municipal electric vehicle charging. Approve tax increment financing agreement for open play pickleball. Land disposition, 0 Woody Island Road. Elect the e-bikes, the new general bylaws, 145 Hayden Row easement to grant easement for the driveway, and then 147 Hayden Row easement to grant it for Verizon for utilities for Charleswood. And then 147 an additional to grant an easement to Eversource for utilities as well for Charleswood. And then, under the town manager, we had a couple FY26 supplemental appropriation and transfers, unpaid bills from previous fiscal years, rescind authorized but unissued debt, fiscal year 2027 operating budget, revolving funds, spending limits, PEG access and cable-related fund revolving account funding, Chapter 90 highway funds, transfer to other post-employment benefits liability trust fund, transfer to the general stabilization fund, and transfer to the capital expense stabilization fund, pay-as-you-go capital expenses, and authorize the lease of 148 Lumber Street, which is the McFarland Sanger House, for the Historical Commission. So a lot of these are, ones that we would have in previous years and very common to see on the town meeting article, on the warrant article. So I'll kind of look to the board. Which ones do you think we need to the most?
I think the fingerprinting, the two new funds, vehicle charging and municipal aggregation.
I agree. I had some clarifying question for the electric vehicle.
3 through 8 for amount.
Yep. So I don't see anything else on here that I think, for my opinion, warrants like an individual discussion. So if we just want to start at 3, I think everyone, like 3 through 8 is that. So first one was civil fingerprinting. Obviously, if you scroll down to it, this is where the common vic license conversation came in. I think it was something important. Like, I'm certainly supportive, but I want to hear the rest of the board's opinion.
I would definitely like it to have a discussion at town meeting. I think the people want to talk about it. They may think it's overreach, or they may think that we should move forward with this. So I think we should definitely put it in and let people discuss it.
I'm in full agreement. We're on the same page today, Amy. I have mixed thoughts about this one from a privacy perspective. It does start to call into question a little bit of autonomy, but on the other side, you are looking to do business in town. There is an accountability and responsibility with doing business in this community, and there is an expectation that you are operating in accordance with the law. So I really hate the notion of saying if you haven't done anything wrong, there's nothing to fear. So I'm going to go with you here, Amy. I think there is benefit in this. It's something I would support, but I do think the town needs to give us a little bit of feedback about if this is really the way they want us operating and talking to businesses in our community.
Yeah, I kind of also want to definitely, I think these are good added measures, as we have discussed, and that's why we have put it out, because we have heard and we have also discussed among ourselves how we can embolden our background checks and all that. So it fits into that. But I also want to be cognizant of, how much time it takes, how much impact it has on the business, and most importantly, how the residents feel about that, to the extent about our reach and overall town's reach. So I am all for putting it in the town meeting and discussing further and hearing from the residents. Again, I see, in general, I'm very supportive of, more measures, but in a balanced way at the same time, and also hearing and seeing how the business and the residents especially feel about this reach. Because we also discussed that no other, or maybe one other town in the Commonwealth only does it today. Or a handful, I forgot, but it wasn't as prevalent.
Yeah.
Correct?
It's not common, I think.
It's not common. So again, doesn't mean that we can't do extra measure for good reasons, but for that reason, I think this is a good discussion to have and evaluate through the town's lens as well.
Elaine, have we got any feedback from the chamber on this? So that's another group I would really like to hear from as well.
Yeah, and so I think you all bring up good points, and for me, the most important thing right now is we're just voting to get this on the warrant, right? Like the town, the residents have the ability to vote for this. Like nothing here jumps out at me as like holding back that's not even worth sending to the residents. So I'll kind of have a consistent view like that, but I agree with the conversation so far around the fingerprinting.
And one of the things, this is an older bylaw, so we'll also ask town council to take a look at it, see if there's other things in there that need to be updated based on law changes and so forth since it was adopted.
And I think that makes it an easier conversation, honestly, if that's the way it goes back to town meeting, because that's we had a long discussion, you made it clear this was something you wanted us engaged in. Here we are with the actual legal updates.
Yep. Again, I think a lot of these things we'll discuss more in upcoming meetings to kind of vet out. And in the past, the towns pulled back articles that, maybe we didn't make as much progress on, or we don't think it's good by the time we get to the beginning of May. So I think, we can certainly vet these things out more. The next two were around establishing revolving funds, one for just municipal aggregation, and then the other one for municipal electrical vehicle charging. Any specific thoughts with anyone?
I'll ask as the finance guy sitting up here, what's an aggregation fund and what would we be intending to use it for?
So the town, when the town adopted the municipal aggregation program, there's some funds, they're called the adder funds, that come to the town, and those are supposed to be used for energy projects. And so the funds would be used for energy-related expenses. We may have to, work on that language a little bit, but that's the intent of those funds, that's what they'll be used for.
Okay, so that was a critical distinction for me, and it's the reason I asked the question. So this is not necessarily a new service we'd be thinking of providing that would result in an increase to the taxpayer. We're thinking about creating a fund to allocate things that are coming into us for a specific use and purpose.
Correct. We're receiving those funds now, so this would
To hold them somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to talk it out so that we were clear about it. I know if I were only checking in every so often and I looked at this and saw established 2 new funds, I would go, didn't you guys say you weren't going to raise taxes? What's going on? So thank you, I appreciate that clarity.
I just have a quick question for clarification. The charging stations, is that going to have any financial impact? Obviously I like the idea, and I think this is going to empower us for more charging stations and also encourage to go about having more. We don't have enough, of course. Having 2 electric vehicles, I know some of the challenges at times. But how is it going to reflect on the budget discussions or budget allocations that we have?
So depending on how the charging station is installed and serviced and whatever company it comes from, there would be funds perhaps coming to the town from its use. And so the funds would be put into the revolving fund, and those funds would be used for the repair and maintenance of the charging station going forward.
Do we get those funds today? But
We don't have any charging stations yet, so we're hopeful that in the next fiscal year, we'll have one. People have been working on this for a couple of years, and we haven't been successful yet, but if next year is the year, we'll then have a place for those funds to go,
awesome.
because we know that they do need maintenance.
Yeah, and I think the Sustainable Green Committee, wants to come at one of our next meetings and talk about kind of changes and potentially, I forget, what did they want us to adopt? The climate leaders?
The Climate Leaders Program, the vehicle policy.
Yeah, so I think there's been some changes there that would be attractive to the town to revisit. And so I think this, just for that reason, as we look ahead to this, it would make sense to establish the fund now. So I'm good with that one. Any other comments?
Oh, great. I think
And then there
this
is
is a good
one
one.
additional from Harrington Heap has let us know that, so they're still the attorney for the Costa Brothers litigation, which is the school department litigation regarding the high school addition. And he's recommending putting an article on just in case there's a settlement in that lawsuit as a placeholder for now as well.
Okay. Is that on the list?
It's not on the list. It came in after the passage.
Okay.
Okay, so we would need to add that as part of the motion.
Or I can add it as one of the town manager articles, whichever.
Again, I have no problem adding it. It's
Right,
just-
makes
I'd
sense.
rather add it, have it, and then let the town
Yeah.
discuss. So what would we put, Harrington Heap,
It's
placeholder
a
for Costa Brothers?
Placeholder for legal settlement for Costa Brothers. Case.
Okay. That makes sense. Next one was the TIF agreement. I personally don't support this, but I'm not going to hold it back. I think we gave the town just 2 weeks ago the go-ahead to kind of renegotiate. So I think, it's in the best interest to see how that goes.
I'm with you as well. I don't support it either, and I did want to discuss it with the rest of the group. I'm cognizant of the fact that we get to make a recommendation, so it will not be uncertain where we stand on this. To me, the inclusion of something from the select board on the warrant, regardless of what we say we recommend, we submitted it. To me, that is a signal of support and consideration. We have an opportunity to not bring it if we don't think it has value. I'm not so sure I'm comfortable simply passing this one forward as a placeholder, given the concerns about actual value to the community you and I are expressing.
I am on the fence. I think I expressed my concerns earlier that the way it was structured, I'm not in favor of that, but I recommended some adjustments and all. So with that, I would support with the adjustments, putting it on the residents' radar and hear how they want to pursue it and approach it. And there's no harm, in my view, in a sense. We have done TIF before, but more so, I know we had good discussion. If we think about it, we need to encourage more business, and in a situation where we are not seeing much revenue from the business side, this is one way to encourage that. And it doesn't mean we won't negotiate. The negotiation points I mentioned, I think, with the clawback or reduction of the fund, all those. And the other way to think about it is that if we don't have the business, it's lost tax. So this is not essentially a tax that is, right now in this particular case, it may be a little bit different story, but generally when we do the TIF, it's not the tax that we have, it's a tax that we don't have. So if we allow that for a couple of years or 2-3 years of not collect or TIF, that means we have guaranteed tax collection the subsequent years. But if we don't approve any at all, that means we don't have any opportunity or any prospect in the horizon. That's how I see it. It's not necessarily tax lost, but tax that we never had, but an opportunity to gain it in 2-3 years. Again, with proper negotiation. I don't see any negotiated numbers here. I don't know if it has changed. I would recommend we keep it. If the negotiated numbers and others looks more favorable down the road, we can vote on it and see if we want to put it as a select board agenda item or select board supported item, or just just as an item that we are passing through and let the residents decide. That would be my take on this.
I am comfortable putting it on here as a placeholder for now. We don't have any updates since our last meeting on negotiations, but definitely, I think we all indicated we were not okay with the one we were presented with at the last meeting. But yeah, I am open to a shorter agreement. And I just think about on Lumber Street, we had that big tennis and swim thing with all these grand plans to move in, and now it's just a hole in the ground. So I would really like to encourage a business like this to come and want them to make it work for them, that they can afford it and be a good business that in the long term is going to bring us tax revenue. So I would like to keep it on here for now, but I'm open to removing it if we can't come to an agreement.
So that was my, and I know you want to, I can tell you want to say something, but so if the board recommends an article tonight and say in two meetings from now we want to withdraw it, we have the ability to do so, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we don't have to recommend it. We can just put it on the warrant. We may make our recommendation.
Well, sorry.
Yeah.
So sorry. Just to be clear, I meant putting it on the warrant. We have the ability to withdraw it so that it doesn't even go to town meeting.
Right.
Okay. I just want to be clear about that.
We have both the options. You're right.
Yeah.
I am going to ask you to tease that one out when we have the vote.
Yeah, because my opinion's not going to change on this one. I'm not going to support this one. I think, everything that you brought up, I support the idea of economic development. I think but again, the TIF is something that we use up front when someone's debating coming to Hopkinton. There's a building that's built, they're accepting memberships. To me, that's revenue coming in. It's not, I don't know. I just don't think that's already tax revenue that's going to start coming in. I don't see how that changes, and I don't want to take that tax revenue away from the residents in this scenario. So I'm not going to change my opinion. I know you had a comment before we move on this one.
My comment was that I wanted to tease it out when we did the vote, because I want to be able to specifically vote on that one.
Okay.
Well, there's 4 of us, so if you 2 are against, then it's not going on the warrant. So that's...
I've heard, I don't want to speak for you, Joe, but what I thought I heard was you say you do not support it and don't intend to support it. However, you were not opposed to advancing it. I was opposed to advancing it. I'm not totally sure where you are.
Yeah. I'm not for advancing it at this time. I know that we gave town the ability to kind of negotiate, but instead of coming back and pulling something away at this point in time, I don't see the benefit to the residents.
Yeah, I fully appreciate that. I think I would like to keep it and see what the negotiated final term is, and then we can revisit a month later, because with the current one, none of us are supportive, it seems. But with the negotiated ones, we may look at it, and if we still don't like it, we have time to drop. So I want to keep it. And only other thing is that in this case, I think it is retroactive. I agree with Joe. But it still has an incentive and marketing effect that we are business friendly, we encourage business, and we are rewarding business or incentivizing business for coming to our town. And I think that message is strong, especially in the business community, but I fully appreciate this is kind of timing thing. It appears that they are already here. It doesn't make sense to incentivize at this time, except it may be a favorable thing looking as a business friendly and focusing in the future, and encourage other similar businesses to come and have their home in Hopkinton. But again, we have time in my view, so I would support keeping it for now.
Yeah, I think
we could probably just vote on it, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say the only comment, and a little bit separate, but we have established with the meals tax an economic development fund, right? And there's a budget that we can draw from. We have ways to incentivize businesses that are just thinking about coming to Hopkinton. So the Economic Development Advisory Board, there's tons of avenues that we can do this. This is not saying Hopkinton is not open for business. It's just we need to protect our tax revenue base right now and, continue to look for new businesses in parallel. That's my opinion. But to your point, Amy?
I think we've all said our piece. So
No, I was just saying to your point, we can vote on it.
Okay, so let me just separate that one out.
Yep.
I would make motion to submit an article into the warrant to approve a tax increment financing agreement for the open play pickleball. Does anyone second?
Second?
Okay, and then we can vote.
Got a motion and a second. I think we've already deliberated on this.
Unanimous, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
So it will not go forward.
2-2, not going forward. Okay. So we had, I think, two other that we wanted to discuss, the land disposition at Woody Island Road and then the e-bikes. Does anyone have any comments on those two?
Remind me the land disposition, that's,
So this is the lot on Woody Island that's between two homeowners, and over the years, there have been encroachments onto that. So we circulated that to town departments. I still am waiting to hear from Open Space Preservation Commission, but for the meantime, we could put that on there. It's the intent of the two owners to purchase it potentially and divide it between the two of them. It's not a building lot, it's small, it's too small.
We've officially been working together. You saw my face light up.
As part of the reaching out to other boards and committees and departments, it's been suggested we place a restriction on building on the lot so that nothing can be built there.
Okay.
Or at least within a certain distance from the lake, and that would be a decision of the select board.
okay. So I'm comfortable moving that one forward.
E-bikes, just quickly, I know I mentioned it at the top. I remain in supportive of doing something, but I think this is going to be more complicated than it initially presented as based on some of what I'm understanding to be the Mass General laws here. So very comfortable advancing it, hoping that there's still work to be done, but I want to just continue to calibrate the town that this one may not totally get across the finish line this time.
Yeah, I would advance it as well. I don't see any reason to hold it back right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can put it forward. However, for e-bike, if you can refresh me, we did hear one proposal from the trails or from one of the residents. Is that what we are finalizing, or what is the final warrant on the bylaws?
So I had drafted just a brief kind of framework for a bylaw, sent it out to a number of people to take a look at. People had different feedback, so the feedback now is that we should meet and discuss. Because there's a lot of things that people would like to do, but the question is, can we do them?
I see. I think this is a major concern by the residents, so let's keep it and see how it evolves. We have time.
I think everyone's sharing that opinion to advance it, but there's a lot more conversation need to be had.
So if it's not ready, we can remove it.
And let's be clear that this is not just e-bikes in terms of like what we're used to with the pedals and the accelerators now. This is also like dirt bikes and the things that we'd be getting in trouble in the forest on. So this is also broader than just the bikes you're seeing on the road. This is multifaceted.
It all depends on how the bylaw is written.
Yes.
All right.
And the other thing I just want to draw your attention to, so on item 12 under the town manager list is something that the Historical Commission is going to be considering submitting, or would like to consider, but they don't meet until after the deadline, after February 1st. So I said that I would put it on for them if they decide to go forward.
I'd like to see it submitted if they do, because if my memory serves me, that's something that they came before this board requesting our guidance on. And I remember giving them a bit of a hard time in terms of, it feels like you know what you want to do and you're asking for permission. So are we still asking for permission?
So we have so town meeting authorized the sale of the property. So we have an RFP that's just about ready to go out.
Okay.
Now they would like to consider an alternative, and that is leasing it to put potentially in a butter. But to be
Instead of
discussed
selling
at
it.
their next meeting.
Okay.
So
Does, in the interest of our own time, and please don't hear this as me trying to stem the conversation, are there any other ones across the list between the town manager and the select board anybody else wants to discuss? Because otherwise, I want to suggest we can vote.
Yes, that was the last one, the Sanger House.
on the capital list is the purchase of 280 Cedar Street, the Carboni property.
Is it on here?
So that, it's not on there, but it's on the capital list, and so that would be a town manager article unless the board wants to submit that.
Oh, okay.
So you're saying that that will be under pay-as-you-go capital, or is it a
Correct.
separate
Yep.
one?
Be free cash and perhaps CPC as well.
Okay. All right.
So we don't need to vote to spend it. It'll
appear.
It'll appear, okay.
So I move to submit all articles except number 6 under the Select Board approved tax increment financing agreement, open play pickleball. So I move to advance all except that item for both the Select Board and Town Manager to submit the relevant articles into the 2026 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
We've got to amend it to add Barrington Heap.
And I will amend the motion as suggested to include an additional placeholder for Harrington Heap recommended settlement for the Acosta brothers.
When accepted and seconded.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, that is unanimous.
Lynn, I had a quick question through the chair. For the financial principles and some of the budgetary changes, is there any particular warrant that can evolve from that? Even if it's, complimentary for the residents to participate in the process?
Not sure I understand the question.
So we made some proposals and some are budget principles are additive and some are modifying. Is there any option adding those as a warrant? And that'll help, I think, in some ways awareness as well as more participation from the residents. But if it is something, not as significant and we can approve among ourselves, discuss ourselves, that is certainly an option. But something I wanted to check and explore.
So the amendments to the financial management policies?
Correct.
Yes, so that would be adopted by this board after review with appropriations and others as well.
And I will confirm that based on a meeting I had with Kyla last week, a draft has been sent out to Lance, Elaine, Kerry, and a few other people reflecting Kyla's revisions from our feedback as well as other discussions. So I'm optimistic that that's moving and that we will see that back
Yeah.
here.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Good point to bring up, though.
Thanks.
That brings us to the town manager report.
So in your packet is a draft annual report for 2025 for the select board and town manager, and it's there for your review, discussion, and thoughts on anything else we would like to include there or change. We're still waiting for some of the information, but it's generally following the same format as previous years, and the items that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that are required by the general bylaws to be included here or elsewhere in the annual town report.
Do we have any process by which we get feedback about the annual town report? Because this is no small effort for you, the publication, the binding, the creation, the collation. I mean, I'm sitting on this board and I won't pretend that I've read all the town reports in my time in town. I understand this is something we need to compile as a legal requirement, but there's a difference between compiling and paying to make it publicly available. So I was just hoping to get some feedback from you about what sort of engagement do you routinely see around this? Do you actually get constituent comments and questions based on this report?
Not too many, but over the years, there's been some comments, and that's why we now include metrics. We'd ask people to include a lot of metrics, so that's that data, that information is important to people, so that's what we tried to beef up the metrics that we provide.
Thank you.
So, maybe 5 years ago, we didn't provide what's here.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to say, I keep them all at home on my bookshelf, and I do refer to them. If I can't remember when something happened, I open it
Oh, I
up
got
and
them
look for it.
I got them all. I just wasn't going to pretend I'd read them all.
Yeah, it's nice. The public has brought issues to us that, happened a few years ago that I had forgotten. I'll go look it up. I'm a member of the public, and I
I just wanted to make
the
sure.
report.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure they had value, and it seems clear from this conversation that they do.
People seem to like the metrics.
Good.
We really struggled with the Historic District Commission the other night. We're like, what kind of metrics do we have? All of our houses are 1 year older than they were last year.
Percent historical.
They're all historical.
Green.
I think we're good on that one, Elaine.
And we did include a photo.
Yep. I heard we were supposed to include 3 photos.
Well, I could only find one good one. But if you have others.
Of us?
Yeah, from the select board.
Wow. That's not
Like the Historic District put in pictures of the buildings in the district.
Do we want to perhaps, I suppose I'm offering my self-commentary here. Would we like to put on nice clothes for next meeting and maybe try and stage a photo at the beginning or end of next meeting?
Well, I think I'm happy to do that. We could also, there's photos of the town hall, with marathon banners or things like that. Might be nice. We didn't have those marathon banners before, right? I don't know. Or Or some of the Main Street corridor that's almost done.
You'll have to take more pictures.
What's it?
We'll have to take more pictures.
We could just use Gen AI to change the picture that we have and put us in different spots.
Yeah, because I'm Mary Jo Lafreniere right now.
Reorganize us.
I thought this was a good photo. Everyone's in it.
Yeah, I like it otherwise.
Well, this is Mavis, Larry,
I
right?
am.
Yeah.
Don't even recognize myself. Proud moment.
We did all dress up that day, so.
All right. Elaine, what was next? Vacancies?
Yes, so asking for approval to post the summer seasonal positions at the Parks and Rec Department. They're already planning for summer.
Speaking of planning for summer, is he confident and comfortable that we have made the necessary improvements we need to increase the safety of those temporary workers? I know this was a lengthy conversation last year about wanting supplemental funding there, and having spent some time at Sandy Beach, that's a little bit of a shanty shop where we're asking teenagers to confront adults. I would like to better understand if we have made adjustments.
They have made adjustments. I recall that they had discussed those, but they will discuss that too when they come for their budget review as well.
Perfect.
We'll need a motion for this one.
I move to approve the posting of the Parks and Rec summer seasonal positions.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any thoughts?
Without knowing what the improvements are and not having heard them, this isn't something I feel as though I am in a position to support. I do have strong concerns. There are multiple residents who are in that area who have expressed concern to me about teenagers essentially having to confront drunken individuals. I want to better understand, and I think thematically, based on the conversations we've been having, maybe this is the right way of putting it. I have been led to believe there is some potential concern for some children who live in Hopkinton based on the way we are asking them to operate. I want to make sure that's okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Good.
Just curious, who's our Park and Rec representative?
C'est moi. I will have that conversation.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That was why I was weirdly knowledgeable about the improvements over there.
And when are they coming to do the budget? In February?
Their
Big Sandy
budget
Beach
meetings
guy,
are
right?
scheduled one of the next 3 meetings.
One of the next 3 meetings.
My people.
All right.
And finally, just a brief update on the Main Street Corridor project. Mass DOT has indicated that Amarillo's contract will be extended through October 2026. Hopefully, they won't need that long to finish up. So all work, including the punch list items, must be completed before the end of the contract. They'll plan to mobilize after the marathon. Utility structures will need to be raised on the east side of the project ahead of final paving, but that won't occur until after the marathon.
Perfect. Liaison, board invites. Amy, would you like to start?
I don't think I've had any liaison things recently, but we got a bunch of invites that are at the bottom of the email that we should decide who's going to go to different events. We got the Lunar New Year invite, Women's Club.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure that those are covered.
Yeah, I responded to Barb. I can make the February 9th.
Okay.
I think that's a Monday for the Women's Club. It's like at 11, I believe, at the library. So if anyone else wants to join, but I can make that.
Okay. Because it's detailed. They need a presentation, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for doing that.
I was less committal on the Chinese New Year invitation because I think that was a Saturday.
I'm planning to join there.
Yeah, I think
And
I've
I
heard of that too.
Okay, because we have friends staying with us that weekend, so I might be able to swing by, but I just couldn't commit to it.
Yeah, I can go to that as well.
It's a wonderful event. Next time. But
Yeah, no,
I enjoy it a lot, and every year try to make it, and got just one. But of course, yeah. But
right.
I'll be there. Amy probably was planning to.
I'm going to target that one as well. I hadn't been feeling well enough for a lot of the public stuff, but I'd like to get out too.
Oh.
All right. I don't think there was any additional
Events are up.
yeah, the YMCA invited us to the community breakfast again for the marathon in March, so we've got some time to figure out that one. Yeah, I don't see anything else right now. It's coming up quickly. Okay. All right, so it sounds like at least we'll have coverage for those two that are coming in the next couple of weeks. All right, that's good. Who had liaison reports? Amy, I think you said you were
I
good.
think I'm all set. I don't think I'm.
Just one thing I wanted to clarify. The ESBC, we wanted to have an update and the chair coming in. Has that been scheduled, remember?
He was going to identify when he'd like to.
Okay, yeah. That'd be great. And also, I was wondering, now that we are 4 months away from marathon, maybe 3 months, would it be a good time to get some update on the marathon-related preparation, planning, and all that? Schedule that.
Blurred future agendas. Liaisons, did you?
No liaison updates. I just want to capture some of the future agenda items. You said the ESPC, right?
I'd like to suggest combining items A and J.
Marathon.
Vice Chairman Ahn and I believe, have a meeting on Friday with a few parties to discuss next steps around Eversource LNG and the way in which we are hoping to influence that discussion. And I do want to thank you for your support and partnership there, as well as Representative Irina DeRosa for partnering with us there as well.
Sure.
Okay. So you said A and J to combine those two?
Yeah. Because ultimately, this was driven from the conversation with Eversource, but it's going to be a broader conversation about how we oversee and interact.
So Representative DeRosa has called for a meeting just to discuss and hear us, so we can kind of look at possible, I think, regulation that he's proposing for utility companies, Eversource and others, about their taxation or tax payment behavior and others. It'll be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I think that's great. So if you guys want to combine A and J, anyone have any issues with that?
No.
Yep.
Okay. I think the only other one was I mentioned, has Sustainable Green come formally? I know they said something to me kind of casually about a future meeting, like an upcoming meeting for adopting that additional code around the electric vehicles.
Yeah, I've heard that they would like to, but no formal
No word yet?
date yet.
All right.
And I have one I'd like to ask for. I would love to have Open Space come and present a strategic plan of what their aspirations and intents are for all this land they're gobbling up and want to continue to gobble up. I can appreciate that we want to keep the town green and accessible, but I would like to have a better idea of what the plan is besides keeping the town green and accessible.
Got it.
Thank you.
That's it, yep.
I got it.
I move to convene an executive session pursuant to MGLC 330A 21A Purpose 3 to consider strategy with respect to litigation, Bois versus Manis et al., because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the board. Pursuant to MGLC 30A 21A Purpose 3 to consider strategy with respect to negotiation with the dispatch and fire unions, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating positions of the board. To approve executive session minutes from 1/6/2026, to allow Elaine Lazarus, Lance Del Pior, and Douglas Louison to participate in executive session, and to not reconvene in open session at the conclusion of executive session.
Second.
This is roll call.
Yep, we've got a motion and a second. Amy?
Amy Roderbush, yes?
Matthew Kisner, yes.
Edelman, yes.
Joe Clark, yes.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks all.
All right, Elaine, I do have some nice photos of the town hall. So I sent them to you, and if